All right, Alexander and Vicky, thank you for being with us today. I'm delighted to have you as guests. I know we're going to have a great conversation for our listening audience, and they'll learn lots of new things.
Dean, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. You're very kind to say so. My understanding is that you have become aware of the significance of the structure of what we perceive to be a standard 52 card playing deck. How did your awareness of this come about, and what is the significance of your discovery, of your awareness?
Well, that's a great question. I could honestly spend a whole hour just talking about part one of that, how it came about. I've learned to give the Cliff Notes version though, and the Cliff Note version.
I think you're showing your age. You're supposed to use Spark Notes now. I understand.
Right.
Cliff Notes are passé.
That's right. I have.
Yeah.
Even
me too. I still refer to them as Cliff Notes, and I always
what are Cliff
the
Notes?
Younger generation say, "What's Cliff Notes?" Oh, you mean Spark Notes?
That got me through my high school literature class.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, that's quite all right. The short version, the Snapchat version of my of my backstory.
He redeemed himself.
Yeah. My kids, our kids, we have a 18-year-old son, 20-year-old daughter. They keep us up on the lingo, and it's all Snapchat nowadays. They don't even do the other social media things. Anyway, so the backstory briefly is that when I was 17, growing up Roman Catholic and attending Catholic schools all the way through, my Catholic high school offered a 3-day encounter, 3-day retreat to get out of school my senior year. This is in Fort Lauderdale. And the retreat center was on the beach, and it was 3 days out of school, and it was known to be run by a kindly old nun who let kids do basically whatever they wanted. So it was a no-brainer. Like, yeah, sure, sign me up. I'll go on that. On the last night of this encounter, a priest came to talk to us about walls around our hearts, walls that block out God's love. It was very moving talk. Everybody was in tears. I afterwards went to speak with him. He was holding, air quotes, face-to-face confession out in the cafeteria, sitting in these metal folding chairs, linoleum floor, dim fluorescent lights above. I went to go speak with him. I had had a difficult emotional upbringing, which that's a whole separate backstory, I suppose, too. I felt very emotionally closed and insecure as a boy. It was emotionally traumatic for me. I wanted to talk to him about it. I don't remember what I said at this point, but when I was done, he stood to pray the traditional prayer that I had heard umpteen times in my youth. As he did, he put his fingers on my forehead like this, and when he did, something went whoosh right through my body in a split-second flash, unmistakably from head to toe. It felt like water and electricity all at once. It left me feeling washed clean, really and truly. And in that moment, I realized there was something real behind all the dogma, behind all the religious mumbo-jumbo that I had heard growing up. I didn't know it at the time, but that singular experience launched me on what would become a long spiritual quest to look for what is this all about? What does that mean? What is that energy? Why am I here? Who are we? All those biggies.
And you were how old at this time?
I was 17.
Okay.
And it led me, now this is where I condensed the narrative. It led me through evangelical Christianity. I became a born-again Christian for several years. It led me to go to India. I was curious to look in India and see what was there. In between, I had gone back to Roman Catholic seminary. I thought I wanted to be a priest at one point. I studied with shamans. I looked everywhere, read every book I could find. I had gone to Harvard as an undergrad. I had done well in high school, so I'd gone to Harvard. I studied philosophy there, looking for answers. So in the academic world, in the spiritual world, and everything in between, psychedelics, ayahuasca, everything, I was looking for answers. And then right after I was going through my divorce with my first wife, I went out to a party in Brooklyn, and I was, again, emotionally traumatized. So that's the context. I just found out we're getting divorced on our son's second birthday. And I go to this party, I walk in, and I see an old friend from Burning Man, and he says to me, "What's your birthday?" "Oh, August 30th. Why?" I was like, "Oh, your birth card is the 9 of Hearts. And that means in this lifetime, you're going to go through tragic endings of the heart, and you're going to have to learn how to let go and move on." And that hit me like a big wave of energy as a proverbial ton of bricks. That's exactly what I was going through in my life in that moment, going through a divorce that I just learned about the day before. That was my first introduction to the real meaning of these playing cards, which have been hidden in plain sight as to what they really mean and what they really are. And I think if I hadn't already searched everywhere else and already studied human design and Vedic astrology, Mayan astrology, palm reading, gene keys, and so on, if I hadn't already looked everywhere and turned over every stone, I don't know that I would have been ready to hear it, because I was still very skeptical. My Harvard brain couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that the answer to the meaning of life was in playing cards. But it resonated so strongly and so deeply and profoundly that my life is explained by this patterning of the 9 of Hearts and the 13 cards in my life path. It was undeniable. I couldn't deny that it hit home. And again, long story short, I was at a crossroads in my life and decided, well, if this is how I found my answers, maybe I ought to share this with everyone else. And my family thought I was crazy to start a professional practice to do this, to basically do what gypsies used to do for a living. But I thought, well, this is it. This is what I need to share. This is my vocation. I'm like a priest in the world with no religion. I'm here to offer this ministry, so to speak. That was back in 2011. And it's been a rocky road. It's been very challenging. It's required a lot of faith. I met Viki, and then her partnership has made all the difference. And now we do this together and we teach this language together. And the significance of it, the second part of your question, I believe these cards are none other than the book of life, the same book of life that the Bible references. It's a little unbound book of our life on earth. The patterns on the face of the card, the pit patterns, all come out of the tree of life and the flower of life. So it's an ancient symbolic map of reality, and it was buried and, concrete paved over by biblical monotheism and persecuted by the church in the Middle Ages. So it was completely hidden. And I believe it's come back to our awareness now. I'm not the only one who knows about the real meaning of these. There's a few of us doing this work. It's come back to us now because I believe we need it. We're on the verge of a massive shift of consciousness on this planet. And we need a toolkit. We need a map. We need a meta-rational model of reality to orient us. Who are we? Why are we here? How could we all get along with each other? How could we transcend cultural divisions, us versus them? I'm right, therefore you must be wrong. What I have to say is true, therefore what you have to say must be false. How can we transcend that simplistic binary to recognize that we live in a 52 factorial model of reality? 52 factorial is the amount of ways you can shuffle the deck of cards. And it's an infinite number for all intents and purposes. It's a number. You can calculate the amount of variables and variations you get within a deck of playing cards. But for all practical purposes, it's an infinite number. And that's the amount of variety that is capable for human beings to live on this planet together. And they're all true. Every single one of them, because every single one is a variation of playing out these sacred geometric patterns. And the truth of it is in the resonance of how you resonated, like playing an instrument well, playing a violin well, playing a saxophone well. That's how you know someone's playing their cards well, because there's a resonance that sounds...
It feels right.
Yeah, and it feels right, exactly. So what the significance of this finding does for us is it gives us a map of reality where we can hold each other accountable and know if someone is on their game and not devolve into mere moral relativism where anything goes. but yet we have complete freedom, an infinite field and an infinite canvas of possibilities to live our lives in total freedom, yet with an ability to know if we're living it in a true way or not. There's a beautiful paradox of this awareness, of this knowledge base, and that's what I think it gives us. That's the significance of it.
Okay, well, just a couple of observations in listening to your explanation. Your particular card was a 9 of hearts, is that correct? Numerologically, 9 is completion.
Yes, it's the same in this system.
Huh?
It's the same. The numbers mean the same thing. So my path is to bring completion and bring transcendence, to inspire people to the next level. It's a paradigm shifting energy that I play. And the heart is through emotions. So yes,
Okay.
it means the same thing.
There are 52 cards in a playing deck, and tarot cards was actually a learning system that this may require some explanation. Ra, R-A, the entity Ra that was identified in Egyptian times, is actually a higher consciousness being, and Osiris is an aspect of Ra, and Osiris built the pyramids and walked among the people 10, 11,000 years ago in Egypt. And he gave to the Egyptian people by virtue of or along the way of providing information and guidance on how to understand the nature of our experience. 26, we call them cards, but they're images that from a hieroglyphic standpoint, you're supposed to interpret, and I'm horrible at interpreting pictures. And so I had to ask specifically what the cards meant. And we function according to an archetypical mind, which is a blueprint for how we process thoughts at this range of consciousness. And each card is representative of a module of that archetypical mind. And it is the blueprint for how we process thought, and also requires us, because of our limited capacity for awareness, to function according to the design of this archetypical mind. And just briefly summarizing it for you, our archetypical mind consists of 26 modules, and each is an assessment point of the processing of a thought. In other words, it consists of establishing how we are with the first two layers, which is the matrix and the potentiator. In each module is the matrix is the mind, body, spirit. So there's 3 in that layer. The second is potentiator, and that's potentiator of the mind, the body, and the spirit, and so forth. And it goes up through what's called the Great Way, which establishes the environment for each of the categories below it. But
is that different than the tarot deck? Those 26 images?
Well, the tarot deck has been modified over the years, and a significant number of cards have been added to it. But the original was 26 cards.
I see.
Wow.
And we've it's not a fortune telling. The intent of it was not a fortune telling opportunity, but it was more an illustrative way to understand the nature of our experience and what we are destined to do, which is in the part of that, we begin in what's called primordial darkness, which just simply means we're a clean canvas. We can paint anything on the canvas that we want. And by virtue of having experiences, we create a hierophant or an identity, an ego, all the same thing. And the identity we create, but it's to a degree, it's not destined, but it's a probability because of our life choices that we make. Whether we're male, female, parentage, all those ingredients, and we choose a lifetime according to the vacancies in our curriculum of learning for this range of consciousness. And so, long story short, it's ironic that to a degree, it's ironic that 26 cards, which is exactly half of the 52,
Mm-hmm.
and all of creation is a series of distortions. And so essentially distortions of perception. So I don't know whether you can address that, not having the familiarity that I'm relaying to you with the initial function of the tarot cards, but the 50.
Could I ask you?
Is this? Well, are you going to ask where it's from?
Yeah, where did you?
Is this from the Arcturians?
I'm sorry.
Is this from the Arcturians?
Well,
information.
We talk. I have a podcast called "Chatting with the Arcturians."
Yeah,
and we chat with the Arcturians regularly. And yes, we discuss this, but the original delivery of the cards was by Ra, which is Ra is part of the Arcturians, but it's a different aspect of the Arcturians. So
that's what we were curious. So the information is coming to you through the Arcturians.
Well, from Ra.
Well, the elaboration is coming, and I communicate with the entity that walked among the people, the Osiris, that's aspect of Ra. I'm not a vocal channel, but that's my source of information. And I chat with the Arcturians through my significant other, which is a vocal channel. And so I tell people we're kind of like Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. I'm the straight guy, and people actually come to hear her. She's not a comedian, but she's the real spice in the communication. But at any rate, the 52 cards are, from what you're explaining, it sounds like it kind of defines to a degree, the ambition for the choice in the incarnation that we make. Is that reasonable? If you were targeting the 9 of Hearts, and there's certain characteristics that go with that you chose prior to incarnation in order to fulfill that portion of your curriculum. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. I might have put it in different words, but that is accurate.
I mean, I would definitely say that as souls, we choose these patterns to play out, and the patterns have different issues.
Right.
Things to play high, things to play on the low side, and overcoming those, learning about them, and having this journey of learning through that energy pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one thing that just is this correlation between the Earth rotating around the sun and the cards. There are 52 cards in the deck, and there are 52 weeks in the year.
Right.
There are 4 suits and 4 seasons. There are 13 cards in a suit, 13 weeks in a season. When you add up the face value of each of the cards, the ace equals 1, the 2 equals 2, the 3 equals 3, Jack equals 11, Queen 12, and the King 13. When you add up all 52, you get 364. The Joker is the 5th element in a 4-part system: hearts, clubs, diamonds, and spades. Mm-hmm. He's outside the matrix of the 52 archetypes. And his face value is 5/4, which equals 1 1/4. So when you put the Joker into the deck, you get 365 1/4, which is an exact model of the Earth rotating around the sun.
Okay.
Yeah. So that there is that
more than coincidence.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is, and we can get into this of my own hypothesis of where the cards originate from. I actually would love to chat to with the Arcturians about this, because I have my own questions about the origins of these cards. But that's one reason why I have come to think of these cards, this deck, as the Book of Life, because we do know that they're ancient. How ancient, that we can debate, or which ancient cultures had them. But in ancient times, books didn't have bindings. Like scrolls, the books of the Bible were written on scrolls and parchment, and they were still known as books. These 53 unbound loose leaves that accurately represent the seasons and cycles of life on Earth, to an ancient mind, it would have been known as a little book of our life on Earth. So I've come to realize in my own research that the biblical writers and the ancient writers, when they reference a book of life, it wasn't merely allegorical or metaphorical. They were aware of an existence of a little book of life on Earth that accurately represents our life on Earth. So that's one among many threads that I've been able to pull together that gives me the hypothesis that this deck of 52 is none other than the same book of life that the Bible references.
Okay. The suits, the heart, would it be accurate to assume that that correlates to heart chakra
Yes.
lessons?
Yes. So
Okay.
emotions, feelings, emotional intelligence, and then how do we play that? Do we express ourselves? Do we push our feelings down and numb them out and avoid them? How are we playing out those emotions? They represent the 4 dimensions of our human being. So hearts, emotions, clubs represent the mind, knowledge, conversation, communication, ideas, thoughts. Spades represent consciousness, vision, imagination, belief
I'm sorry.
systems.
Which represents
Spades,
consciousness? Spirit.
spades,
Spade. Oh,
yes,
okay.
represent
The
consciousness.
spade itself is an acorn, and in some medieval decks, they were acorns. The acorn is a symbol
Correlates
of...
to the pineal gland.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the diamonds represent the physical, anything we can perceive with our 5 senses, the gut instincts, the physical body, anything of the physical reality.
And that would be
So
the
the
third
4
chakra.
So
Yeah.
it more corresponds actually to the idea of the 3 Tantians in Chinese medicine and Chinese tradition. You have the 3 points. It's more correspondent to that, and the mind, the heart, and the gut. These 3 points, and also the 3 kind of, you could say, classical divisions of human being, where the classical Greeks thought of as body, mind, spirit. It's that similar kind of tripartine division of human being, where all 3 are combined in the one belief that we hold. The acorn is a symbol that says a lot of things. The whole oak tree grows out of this small acorn, and it stands in for the same reality that inside of this tiny seed of our belief we plant when we believe something grows the whole being that we are, the body, mind, heart of who we are. The 3 parts of us starts with what we believe. So we ourselves are a holy trinity. We are three in one beings.
In the pineal gland, the acorn, the spade, is how we bring thought in. We attract thought through the 6th chakra, and when we are born, we come in through the 6th chakra. When we die, we go out through the 6th chakra. So it's our connection to our metaphysical self as well, our spiritual self. It's interesting. The first 2 chakras as correspond to our modules of the archetypical mind are foundational. And I explain to people in correlating cards, for example, when you play bridge, you have to get book of first 6 tricks, or just your book. You don't get any points for that, and whatever over that book is your gain in that particular hand. The first 2 chakras are assumed to be the book that you've got to make, which is foundational, but that corresponds to the matrix and the potentiator of the archetypical mind as well.
You a bridge player?
I love that you just used that as an analogy. Oh my God.
We love playing bridge.
We love bridge.
Okay. All right. Well, super. Okay.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay. So that accounts for some variety and numerically in the calculations as well. Not that there are actually 6 divisions to that, but there is relative concept of making book, and the consciousness itself is scaled. There are 8 levels, major levels of consciousness, 7 of which are the development. The 8th level is, for all intent and purposes, the creator, and then 7 layers below that. And I lost my train of thought where I was going with that, trying to establish or recreate or refine my thought. But
Is this when you're sharing that, is that also information that the Octurians have shared with you?
well, Ra is shared primarily with me and the Arcturians. We perceive DNA to have 64 layers in double helix binary. That's a manifestation of the layers of consciousness, and there are 64 layers in each range of consciousness. First density has 4 layers, 2 through 8. You have to jump. It goes in pairs. Second density is plants and animals. It goes again in pairs. Our range of consciousness begins at 18 and goes through 24. As we progress through this range of consciousness, what we're doing is activating those layers, and they're not gaps between that; they're incremental layers in between those platform layers. We will graduate to the next range of consciousness, which again will be 4 ranges. The next range will be 4 layers. The creator being density begins with 8 layers. It's a very broad layer, but it accumulates in 64 layers. And that manifests in our perception as consciousness. I mean, as a DNA, but the physical manifestation only exists in our range of consciousness and the beginning layers of the next range of consciousness. And at that point, we achieve a surrender of the authenticity of the physical, so we no longer incarnate, but it still continues with the development and furtherance of consciousness itself.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I will add an interesting correlation to what you're sharing, which is that we've
64 layers.
through my own, you could say, channeling, I suppose, I do get direct guidance and direct downloads. We separated out the royals. So there's 12 royals, Jack, Queen, King, 3 of them times 4. There's 12 of them. Because actually the number 11, 12, and 13 have their own archetypal meaning. And for instance, that's the number 12. It's a golden rectangle. And the number 11 is a rudimentary representation of Metatron's cube. There's a 3-dimensional cube inside a walled garden.
Mm-hmm.
So the 11, 12, and 13 have their own meaning. The Jack, Queen, King are icons, personalities, and they actually are separate.
So they're archetypes.
Yes. When we separate them out, now you have a deck of 64.
Okay. Interesting. Huh. Okay. A lot of coincidences in considering all these different variables, aren't they?
Yeah.
There are, and I believe we're just in our infancy of knowing what we can do with this 52 card deck / 64 card deck, what's really possible with it. I have a friend who channels information, and he was telling me that we're going to start using these patterns for healing. Just by gazing on the pattern, it's a hieroglyph. It emits a frequency. And he was channeling for me that soon enough, human beings are going to use these patterns for healing.
Well, my understanding, we're considering humans to be a monolith, and that's not the case. We are very definitively have begun simultaneously we're in the range of consciousness is called a density. And we are in third density. We're experiencing third density now, but there's a simultaneous fourth density that is beginning. And 40, specifically 47% of the children that have been born since roughly 2005, a little before that too, but are actually fourth density children. And so there's a simultaneous density being formed, and we will cohabit Earth by interacting with each other until they are fully transitioned into fourth density. The fourth density body is electric and we're chemical. And so they're generationally in transitional bodies. They're predominantly now chemical and partially electric. As they have children, they will become more electric and more electric and more electric until they're fully electric, and we will no longer interact with them, even though we will cohabit the Earth at different vibrational levels. And so
I've heard something like that.
They're the ones that will have that healing capacity.
Okay, that makes sense. I've heard something like that. I want to ask you a little bit more, though. I've always wondered, what exactly is fourth density? What does that mean?
Well, they're in the process of developing. It's a vibrational level. There's each of the densities is separated by what's called a distinct placement. In other words, you're not going to you're going to be in third density and actually accidentally stumble into fourth density. There is specific criteria at each range of consciousness that we are tasked with learning. But creation is, in the course of developing creation, 5 inherent characteristics of the creator become delineated in 7th density, next to highest density. And all of the rest of creation is based upon learning each of those inherent characteristics as completely as possible. Our range of consciousness is the first 2 ranges of consciousness are foundational. They're considered foundational densities. First density is what we would call inorganic matter, which is necessary to form a planet, but it's still consciousness. Second density are plants and animals, which enhance the environment of the first density. And we're third density, but we require both first and second density in order to exist and have the types of experiences that we do.
Is third density similar to saying that we're 3D beings?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
But we are tasked with becoming awareness, and the design that we experience compels us to create this hierophant that I was alluding to earlier. And that hierophant is a false perception of self. And so what you were describing in your life experiences, I correlated to an awakening. And an awakening is really nothing more than that first time in your life when you invert the same awareness that you've been using to try to control the world around you, around us. And we become aware that regardless of what successes we perceive that we have been experiencing in the outside world, we're not happy. And that's an awakening. That's nothing more than that inverting that awareness to feel that you're not happy, that there's something else you're supposed to be doing. And then it's the process of further exploring yourself. So the whole process of meditation is inverting that awareness ever deeper to surrender your erroneous false perceptions of self, which are the source of our stress and suffering, and discovering more of your authentic self, or as Jung called it, the true self. And that is what is developed, and that is what is on the evolutionary path. Fourth density does the same thing that we do with awareness, with love. Fifth density does the same thing with wisdom. Sixth density does the same thing with unity. Seventh density does the same thing with stillness. And so these are the 5 inherent characteristics in a hierarchical order, and how the creationary layers are divided with the task of fulfilling the curriculum of exploring first awareness, then love, then wisdom, then unity, then stillness.
So the third density task, if you will, is awareness.
Awareness, yeah.
It's interesting. That's how, I mean, because Alexander was saying before about how like these are coming out into the world at this time, or did you say that? I don't know.
Somebody said it.
And you know, they're tremendous. You know, knowing one's cards to play is absolutely tremendous for awareness. I mean, number one,
Right. Yeah.
It's awareness of a pattern that's being played out, as opposed to being numb to it and creating a life by default with energy patterns that are already in play. You know, so it does interconnect with that.
Yeah, it is fundamentally a tool of awareness. That's exactly it.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is learning the rules of the road, really.
Yeah.
When,
Yes.
I mean, what you're supposed to be paying attention to. And, you know, a large part of the teachings that I do is helping people understand what the rules of the road are. Because, you know, if you go if you've never been to a football game and you go to a football game for the first time, you don't know what the hell they're doing down there in the field. They're just banging into each other. And it's not very entertaining. It's not fun. But if you know the rules, then it makes sense. And you can enjoy and participate in the game even vicariously. And so that's the biggest thing. People, I just describe people until they have this awareness that they're just in chaos. They're vacillating from event to event, really, without any awareness of what purpose the events have. And so tools like you're describing, the knowing, you know, the value of the cards and those things that you're supposed to be paying attention to fulfill your mission, really, mission being different from purpose in life is extremely valuable to people. Yeah. So
I like that you say mission is different from purpose. That just really hit me, actually. You know, I like that. I like that a lot. Like, I feel like my mission is I want to scream this from the rooftops because of how helpful it is.
Mhm.
But I really feel like my purpose is to just shine brightly and be authentic and feel love and radiate love. You know, like, so yeah, I like that. Thank you.
Well, the purpose of creation is for the one infinite creator to explore itself by experiencing itself. And we are the one infinite creator experiencing a range of consciousness. So our purpose is exactly the same, to explore ourselves at this range of consciousness. Our mission varies from incarnation to incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's interesting then. The way that I've differentiated the languaging from purpose to mission is I've said that we have a role to play. So my role is defined by my 9 of hearts. But as you say, the life purpose itself is to experience and explore and be who we are. It sounds weird to say be who we're meant to be because we already are that. But that is different than whatever role we're playing. And
Right.
so the mission, the role, maybe they're synonymous, maybe not. Maybe you mean something deeper by mission, but it feels similar to, like, my 9 of hearts has a mission. And Viki's 5 of diamonds has a mission, but that's different than our innate purpose in our existence.
Right. The purpose is defined by the participation in creation. The very nature of consciousness itself is universal. There's no variety in that. But the mission varies as we vary. And, you know, and we know that our purpose is to explore ourselves because we erroneously perceive that we're learning about other people in the world around us, when the reality is we're only learning about ourselves in relation to people, places, and things. So people, places, and things are mirrors to us about what we need to become aware of about ourselves to fulfill our purpose.
I like that distinction.
Yep.
We erroneously think we're learning about other people, but in reality, we're only learning about ourselves.
Right. And you know that because we can't. An experience that we're not aware of is in our experience, in our lesson. We don't learn anything from that.
You know, that realization has sometimes left me feeling lonely, because then I'm just in my own bubble, and that's all I will ever experience.
Well, yes and no. That's why we establish relationships.
We do, and we overlap in the same sacred geometric way as like the Vesica Pisces. We overlap, and then there's some portion that overlaps, and then out of that overlapping portion, a third is created. Sometimes literally a new being is created, but a third order reality is created. And yet, as you say, fundamentally, we're only ever learning more about ourselves. So we're only ever experiencing our own energy and our own awareness.
At this range of consciousness, as we evolve to the higher ranges of consciousness, in this range of consciousness, we're very limited. We perceive ourselves as autonomous beings, but the evolutionary process is unity. And so in the next range of consciousness, in order to determine suitability for graduation from fourth entity to the next range of consciousness, we will surrender our perception of individual autonomy and form what is called a social memory complex, which becomes our perception of self. And that is the entire rest of our evolutionary process, ever expanding that perception of self to greater unity.
Would that fourth dimensional consciousness that you're describing, would that be called unconditional love, the lesson there?
Well, yeah, it's also called Christ consciousness. It's what
So
Christ
then
consciousness
that's
is.
what that being that we call Jesus Christ, that's what he was talking about. He was talking about fourth density consciousness.
Right. And Jesus was, in our range of consciousness, if you think of us as a bundle of kindling, but in order to ignite the kindling, we needed a match. And higher consciousness beings incarnate and live a third density life in order to provide that match to the kindling. And most of the individuals that we historically consider to be spiritual leaders, Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, numerous, countless ones over the recorded time, incarnate. They're a much higher consciousness. They're not here to graduate as we are. They serve as that match by model as well as information. Jesus was very unique in that usually only sixth density beings do that. A higher self level creator beings do that incarnational thing. Jesus was nearing the end of his fourth density experience, which means that he just, relatively speaking, recently surrendered the authenticity of the physical. But his achievement was the level of love. And so by incarnating and being a teacher and model of love, he was demonstrating his metaphysical being's advancement. And that's why the orientation towards Christ consciousness and the love. Buddha actually was sixth density, which was unity. And the difference between the teachings, Jesus was way above, the population, relatively speaking, in his metaphysical advancement, but the orientation was love. Buddha's orientation was unity, because that was his level of incarnational source. And so the messages that the Buddha offered were essentially, he didn't give us any information. He gave us a little structure and told you what to do in order to get there. Jesus was much more informative about relatable behavior changes that love would allow us to experience greater steps towards love.
And from what you're saying in this model of densities, we need awareness before we can have love.
It's the foundation. Yeah. the foundation. You build it. It is hierarchical only because you have to build the foundation before you build the walls before you build the roof, and so forth.
So then, and I can see this in Jesus' teaching. And I mentioned I was an evangelical Christian. So I studied the Gospels very deeply and taught them. A lot of Jesus' teachings were about awareness and about building your house on a firm foundation was the metaphor he used. Because, of course, if what you're saying is true, which I believe that it is, then it is awareness that is the foundation for everything.
You can't explore love if you're not aware. And love, actually, the next range of consciousness, love is actually healing the traumas that we experience in third density, because third density is so haphazard. Wisdom, the fifth density aspect, is actually healing the exuberance that we achieve in fourth density. Because wow, this is so much better than third density. And, we're all excited and want everybody to love and that sort of stuff. But that needs moderating in order to further explore ourselves, which is what the wisdom does, what the wisdom is. And after the wisdom, then we surrender the balance of all of those lower three inherent characteristics to evolve into greater unity, significantly greater unity.
And in this teaching that you're sharing with us, can human beings exist simultaneously across different densities?
We do. We perceive ourselves as autonomous beings, but we exist on all ranges of consciousness simultaneously. And we also, that our higher self describes themselves as simply being ourselves in the future. And so we perceive separation, but there actually there's no separation.
I'm visualizing it as different gradations of energy, as different densities.
Yeah. Different vibrations. And we perceive things as frequencies. Frequency is a time measurement. And outside of our limited perspective, time is simultaneous. And so there's no frequency, it's just variations in vibration.
This is what I'm glad you said that. I'm really enjoying this conversation, that frequency is a time measurement, because that's one of the things that this deck of 5264 does, is it gives us the measurement of what that frequency is.
Mm-hmm.
Like as we're recording this right now, August 12th, the card of the day is the Ace of Diamonds. And that's a measurement of frequency, because time is frequency. And this is a symbolic measurement of what this frequency is that we're all moving through right now on this day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've been playing with to learn more about. And I'm asking more to receive more about how to teach that, time is a frequency. And these cards symbolize hieroglyphically what that frequency is like.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Because each day of the year each rotation of the earth is a different frequency and is a different pattern. And it's symbolized in these cards as they recur in a pattern throughout the year. Yesterday was the Two of Diamonds. Today is the Ace of Diamonds. Tomorrow is going to be the King of Clubs.
But they're sequential.
Yeah. And they move through the year. There's 52 of them, and they move through the 365 days. And so each day, what we think of as time, each day is actually a different energy frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about having the awareness of that. What is the frequency that's in play?
So you can move with it and
not against
not
it.
resist it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, I've learned a lot. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, yes. I've learned a lot as well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Dean, are you curious to know what your birth card is?
I'd love to. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
What's your birthday?
January 2.
You
have fantastic.
You have a rare birth card.
Yes, you do.
Really?
Yes.
You are born to play the Queen of Spades, the Queen of Consciousness.
Interesting.
the feminine archetype of that which is aware, because consciousness, spades, having the awareness of what is, having the awareness of reality, and wanting to nurture people with your awareness because it's a feminine energy.
Cool.
So it isn't for you enough to meditate alone in a cave and have that amazing awareness. You want to give it away. You want to nurture people with your awareness.
That's cool. Yeah, because I get that oftentimes I get, "Oh, here he comes again."
Well, your personality is the
Yeah.
king of clubs. You want to talk about
Really?
The
Yeah.
personality is how you show up or how people may see you. The birth card shines through the personality card. Personality card is the king. So you've got both the queen and the king that you're playing. And so that's the masculine leader, and clubs represent the mind. So the king of knowledge.
Who knew?
You're living it.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I
Wow,
love
wow,
that.
wow.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you have the queen is you have psychic awareness. You're tuned in to other levels of consciousness, and you mentioned that you
Mhm.
have that access in your life where you are
Yeah.
tuned in to
Yeah.
higher levels of consciousness, and then you nurture people with your awareness and you teach it. Clubs is words, language, knowledge. So then you'd be interested. Your mission would be to teach your awareness, teach what you know.
Ironically, that's all that I do now these days. Interesting. And it has evolved to that point, obviously, from an awakening. And it's been an incremental process, but it seems to be accelerating. And so I'm delighted to be able to provide that service. Yeah.
Yeah, the queen is about service. You want to be of service. You want to nurture. It's a feminine
Cool.
energy.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been fun. I've enjoyed this. I hope that you guys have.
Yes.
We really
Me
have.
too.
We'd love to have you come on our podcast as well. Would you be interested in
And
that?
just let me know when and where. I'd be delighted to. I really delight in the opportunity to share information as well as gain additional dimension in my understanding from folks like you. So
Yeah, likewise. We've just recently connected to Podmatch, and I'm so thrilled to meet people like you. I'm really enjoying expanding my worldview from
yeah,
the power of technology. Where are you based?
I'm in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, we would never otherwise have gotten to meet. So
No,
here we
it's
are
true.
having this great conversation.
It's true. It's true. I love it. All right. Well, anything that you guys would like our listening audience to know before we say adieu for the day?
Know your cards to play. If you want to look up your cards, you can go to our website, thesourcecards.com, and you can actually find out your first two cards in your life path, just as we've done for you. So the birth and the personality card, and start to explore and start to become aware of the cards that you are playing for your life.
Cool. Okay. And any uh, uh, links that you would like me to include in the show notes, please send that to me. I'd be delighted to promote you any way that I can.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it. It's
All
been a
right.
wonderful conversation. Thank you, Dean.
I agree. It has. All right. Well, let's say adieu for now. If you would hold on just a minute, I'm going to hit the button to unrecord us, and then we can chat for a minute if we like.
Yep.